Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Daily Colts here. Tonight we're going to be reacting to our 2025 schedule, looking at both the home and away games. Obviously the Colts are not going to the playoffs. The draft isn't going to be for another drafts late April. We're talking about literally 3.5 months until the draft. There's a long ways to go. So looking at the Colts, their home games are going to be against, of course, three divisional teams. So the Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, and Tennessee Titans. I don't expect the Jags or the Titans to be very good. They are divisional games, so they'll be tough. But those are two games that the Colts just have to get. They did, of course, beat the Jags at home this year, but they lost to them on the road. We haven't beaten the Jags on the road. Jeez, I can't even remember that's how long it's been. It's been like 10 years. So you'd have to imagine that the Colts will win both of those games. And then the Houston Texans, we got swept by the Texans last season, well, this season, and the year before. We ended up splitting that. You like to hope the Colts can get one of these two games, but there's no guarantee. Who knows what the Colts are going to look like? I do think the Colts have an opportunity to be good, but I think there's an opportunity that they just continue to be mediocre, be 8-9, 9-8, middle of the pack, like they have been the past 8 years. And then the Colts will be hosting a game against the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona's interesting. They seem to play good football to start the season, and they kind of tail off. I don't think they're the best team in the world, though. At home, the Colts should be able to win that game. The Atlanta Falcons are very interesting. Michael Penix Jr., there's a lot of upside on this Falcons team. They've got a great amount of supporting cast around him. But still, I'll take that. The Cardinals and the Falcons, two teams that missed the playoffs, two teams that I think the Colts certainly are capable of beating. Then the Denver Broncos are interesting. They won 10 games this season. The Colts, we know we lost to them, of course, in Denver and Mile High. But the Colts should have been up 20-7, and unfortunately they kind of faltered. I'm not too concerned about the Broncos. Same thing with the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think the Raiders are going to be the best in the world. They're going to have a new quarterback, maybe Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, or maybe Jalen Milroe in the second round, or maybe they bring in a veteran, who knows, like a Kirk Cousins or a Sam Darnold. But still, the Raiders, I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. So, we're talking about the Colts right now. That's what, 7 games right there against teams that might not make the playoffs, if I'm being completely honest. Now, I think the Broncos will probably make it. The Falcons might win their division. There's teams that can, like the Texans. Like, there's teams that have the potential to do it, but there isn't any team that I see being able to just dominate us, man. Miami Dolphins, they seem to be only good at home. I think they'll be solid again, but I'm not really too concerned. And then the San Francisco 49ers, this is definitely a tough one. The Niners seems like they're either really good or really bad. Hopefully, for our sake, they're bad. So the Niners are the one team that I'm concerned with, if I'm being honest. Of these, now we're not gonna go ahead and end up winning, let's say, like 8 of those games, or like, we're not gonna win all of them, and we're probably not gonna lose only one. Like, there's gonna be some losses there, but just on paper I think it's very good to see what the Colts have and who they're going to be playing. To me, though, the road games are very, very concerning. The Houston Texans, Jags, and Titans, of course, you play each team in your division twice, but still, Jags and Titans, even though we haven't beaten the Jags in Duval in a while, it's still not a matchup that overly terrifies me, if I'm being completely honest with you. No more Gus Bradley as well. So we gave up 37 to the Jags and Duval early on in the season. Kansas City Chiefs, though. We have to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead next year, which is the worst possible matchup for a team. And then, of course, the Los Angeles Chargers, who won 11 games this year, they're only going to get better. Like, the Chargers aren't going to take a step back with Jim Harbaugh. And then the Los Angeles Rams, another playoff team, a team that could have had the 3 seed if they played their starters in Week 18, but they elected not to, and they lost by whatever, how many it was, 2 points or whatever, to the Rams. Pittsburgh Steelers, we have to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's tough, man. They always have a physical, good team led by Mike Tomlin. We have played them well the past couple of seasons, but it's been in Indy. That's the difference. And then Seattle. I think Seattle has the most hostile environment in football. So we're talking about Pittsburgh, Seattle, Los Angeles, Kansas City, both Los Angeles, of course. The road schedule, that might be the most, I'm not going to say the most difficult road schedule, because the Titans and the Jags are in there, and the Texans, I think, are a pretty mediocre football team. But overall, it's not terrible. When you add in everything, I think the home schedule is actually pretty doable. I'll even go as far as saying I think the home games are pretty easy. I mean, I don't think that like the Falcons, Cardinals, Broncos, Dolphins, and Niners are easy, but it's just teams that I think the Colts are going to be capable of beating. And then like bad teams like Raiders, Titans, Jags, and then the Texans, of course, are that's like a coin flip to that point. So the Colts, if you think about it, I mean, I do think they'll beat the Texans at home. Jags and Titans, that's 3 wins. Cardinals, Falcons, I feel like they'll lose one of those games, so that's 4-1. And then I do think they'll beat the Raiders 5-1 at home. Let's say that the Broncos beat us, so all of a sudden, 5-2. And then let's say the Dolphins and the Niners, we end up splitting that. So that would be 6-3. So if the Colts go 6-3 at home, I mean that's definitely good because at that point they basically have to win 4 of these road games to be able to make the playoffs to get to 10-7. Would say that they end up losing to the Texans, so they're 6-4. They end up sweeping the Jags, go to 7-4 right there. Tennessee Titans beat them, that's 8-4. Lose to the Chiefs, 8-5. Chargers, they lose that, they're 8-6. The Rams, I think that's one where they actually could get to go to 9-6. And then all they have to do is just beat the Steelers or the Seahawks to get to 10-7. I don't think they're winning both of those, though. Winning one of those is going to be tough. But if they were to win one, I'd probably say it would be against the. I'd probably go with the Seahawks, man, if I'm being honest. And then to that point, they'd be 10-7. If the Colts go 10-7, I mean, I do think that would be definitely a good season, just given the fact that this team hasn't made the playoffs since Philip Rivers in 2020, 2021. They had to win one of their last two and they failed to do that. But yeah, this schedule, I mean, it definitely has some upside. Like the Colts very well could dominate at home. Like they could beat all of those teams if I'm being honest. They could lose one. The road, I mean, of course, like the Colts do have the potential to beat the Seahawks and the Steelers. The Colts always are going to have potential because they've got a lot of talent, but it's just going to come down to their coaching staff and preparation and how well Anthony Richardson can take that next step. Because I mean, the off season, I do think the Colts might end up bringing in another quarterback just to compete where they are. It might be like a Kirk Cousins. It's not going to be Sam Darnold. They're not going to pay Sam Darnold a bunch of money, but they'll probably bring in some sort of veteran to be able to compete where they are. Because as we saw this past season, AR wasn't playing up to standards according to a lot of teammates. Like DeForest Buckner even said that. So yeah, that's going to be the Colts schedule. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. 2025. As of right now, I'm going to go with the Colts going to 10-7. A lot of the times in the summer, I'll hype up the Colts and be like, hey man, we can win 12 games. I don't think the Colts are going to be able to do that. I think they can get to 10 though, and it won't be easy by any means. But there is obviously the potential of the Colts doing big things, but there's also the lows. We've seen a lot of the lows. Like the Colts, I mean, they lost to the Jags and the Giants this past season. So, and the Colts didn't even beat a single good team.